So let me kick off. I was asked to talk about disrupting through technology. Well, in true Africa Day form, let me also say that I'm wearing a piece designed by a Kenyan designer known as Fierce Jewel. You can look her up online. I'm not sure if she delivers to Joburg, but she can certainly start. I will let her know. So let me kick off and talk a little bit about 3 things that I believe in. I believe that if you do the right thing, the numbers will follow. And then that therefore means for me that purpose and people will always come before profit. I also believe that values, in plural, are always more important than value. And finally, I believe that it's important to always put your reputation before your revenue. So those are 3 things that I believe in. The CEO of our business believes in it as well. We try to inculcate it through all of our staff. And yes, we do work in a private company that is very profit-driven in a highly competitive industry. So it is possible to have purpose-driven beliefs, but also believe in social impact. A little bit about Kenya, my country. Population, well, it was 40 million the last time I checked, and I looked up and now it's 48 million. So 48 million, rapidly growing country. 75% of the population is classified as young people under 30, an age group which I left quite a while ago. Our GDP at 70.5 billion in 2016, and a GDP per capita of just about $1,100, puts us in that strange category that was talked about yesterday, the newly middle-income country. Newly middle-income country with not so great social indicators. Maternal mortality is a challenge, infant and child mortality is a challenge, literacy rates are poor. And really, as was said yesterday, sometimes we feel like we're 2 countries in one. We have 1 doctor for every 16,000 patients. WHO recommends that there should be 1 doctor for every 1,000. And interestingly, agriculture, which contributes 24% of our GDP, employs about 60% of the Kenyan population. So obviously there's some great inefficiencies there, because 60% of Kenyans are working and delivering only 24% of our GDP. So these statistics are important simply just to lay the groundwork for the presentation that I'm going to deliver. A little bit about Safaricom and our story. We started about 18 years ago, and I promise you, we are a small global company in that sense. We may be large in Kenya. We have 29 million customers. Pretty much every single adult in Kenya is a Safaricom subscriber. We have about 300,000 touchpoints across the country. We are probably best known for M-Pesa, our mobile money transfer platform, but we're also known for a lot more. We just recognize that M-Pesa really revolutionized micropayments. Our valuation is about $12 billion, but really these are not the numbers that are important to us. These are not the numbers that drive our passion. Our numbers lie in a lot more than transformation. Incidentally, perhaps to keep it simple, we could describe ourselves as a telecommunications company, but really we do a lot more than telecommunications. We're toying with the idea of calling ourselves a digital lifestyle enabling company, but it's a bit of a mouthful. As I go ahead, you'll see why we challenge ourselves and say that we're really not a telco. A little bit about what drives us. As I said, those numbers before are not really what is important to us. What is important is the difference that we make in society. Our brand promise is Twaweza. It's a Swahili word that means, yes, we can. No relation to a widely publicized campaign promise that was made a few years ago, I promise you. This is really about partnering together to deliver what we believe is important and transformative for Kenyans. We believe in the shared prosperity of our country. We know that Safaricom cannot be successful if Kenya is not successful. We know that business cannot thrive if society around it fails. Those are things that are important for us. Kenya's prosperity is our prosperity. We say we're a purpose-driven organization. For us, it's important to ensure a sustainable future for our business, for Kenyans as a whole. About 2 years ago, just after the launch of the Sustainable Development Goals, what we did was revamp our entire corporate strategy and position it around the Sustainable Development Goals. Because for us, if we didn't do business around the Sustainable Development Goals, we were not going to be doing transformative business. So we looked at the goals, we mapped them against our material issues and what was important to our business, and we have now aligned our business strategy around 9 key sustainable development goals. Of course, we couldn't do them all. We had to prioritize and see what makes sense. Now, some within the business think 9 is too many. My job is to deliver and demonstrate that 9 is actually just about right for what we want to do. And those goals are delivering, for example, technology solutions in health and in education and in agriculture. It's about also minimizing our carbon footprint. It's about ensuring that whatever we do drives the reduction of inequalities. It's also about making sure that we operate efficiently. And that's really what we are as Safaricom. We believe in partnering for delivering value. So let me get to what I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about 2 products at a very high level and go in deep on 2 others. So let me first talk about education. As I mentioned, literacy levels in Kenya are pretty low. Most people are just about functionally literate. You may have a great academic certificate, but perhaps not be great at problem solving, creativity, and all those things that get us great jobs today or allow us to be self-employed and productive. Now, you and I teach our kids all the time that sharing is caring, right? Here's the thing. If you're 1 in 5 kids that has to share a textbook in a classroom, if you're 1 in 5 kids that has to share a desk or a bench, it really does impact on your education outcomes. In a lot of public schools, there's just not enough resources to ensure that all the learners have access to quality learning materials. So what we did in partnership with an organization called Inez Education is deliver an SMS-based mobile learning tool. It's a revision tool that allows kids to access quizzes, it allows them to access content, and allows them to chat on the side with a tutor. And this is delivered at the cost of 10 cents a week, just 10 cents a week. Kids are able to access this off their parents' mobile phone or off a tablet that the teacher may have in school. And what has this done? At the end of the day, better educational outcomes. It's also restored dignity to kids because they can now actually learn and study and revise in peace. And it's also actually delivered revenue for Inez Education and Safaricom. Actually, there's an interesting story about a girl I met last year in a refugee camp, Kakuma, who attributed her ability to move out of the camp and into a mainstream education school in Nairobi due to the fact that she used this tool for her revision. She emerged one of the top girls, both in Kakuma and actually nationally. Now let me move on to M-KOPA Solar. Talked about yesterday by James. Jay mentioned that there's not enough early stage investment by locals within their own businesses, and I totally agree. The lady from Nigeria who also spoke earlier about access to electricity, I totally agree. I think just about 30% of Kenyans are connected to the grid. Now, on M-KOPA Solar, what we've done there is work with them, provide a GSM platform, use M-Pesa, and allowed Kenyans to access electricity on a pay-as-you-go system. This means that every day you can have the dignity of living in a house with electricity, charging your phone, and allowing your kids to study a little bit longer. Let me dive into the 2. I can see the clock ticking away. Healthcare and agriculture. Very quickly, as I'd mentioned, the doctor-to-patient ratio in Kenya is 1 to 16,000. 2 out of 5 of every Kenyan simply cannot afford healthcare. This means that every so often when a family member falls unwell, the family goes into economic shock. What have we done? We have therefore partnered with an organization called Farm Access, that is a health service provider, as well as CarePay, that is a technology platform provider. Together, we've looked at ways in which we can create a mobile e-health wallet, where people are able to save up on a daily basis, again, as little as 10 cents a day for their health care. Just about 30% of Kenyans are insured at present. 10 cents a day. But what does this mean? It means a woman who's pregnant can start to save up and be able to ensure that she has enough money at the end of her 9 months to cover any emergencies in healthcare. But what has it meant? At present, there's 1 million Kenyans enrolled on NTIBA. This is money either saved by themselves or increasingly coming through donor-funded programs because the donors know the money will go directly to the recipient. 1 million Kenyans are now covered by NTIBA. We've had close to 100,000 healthcare visits. These are Kenyans who probably would have never gone to see a doctor. And most exciting and most importantly, $2 million has entered the health ecosystem that wasn't there before. This is $2 million of people who otherwise would have not thought about accessing healthcare, or the cost of healthcare would have been prohibitive. What has that $2 million done? It's expanded small-scale clinics into larger clinics. It's raised income for doctors. It's allowed health, safety, security, and dignity for the 1 million Kenyans. And at the end of it all, as I said, yes, we've all made some money. Let me talk about farming. Interesting. So this guy here, another statistic I heard, the average age of a Kenyan farmer is 60. So any Kenyans in the room, when you're 60, you know where you need to go. It's not great. We actually need to have younger people farming. So 60% of Kenyans are involved in active farming at some point in time. About 90% of all Kenyan farmers have a mobile phone. But the question we wanted to ask is, why are smallholder farmers always smallholder farmers? You have 1/8 of an acre, and you remain with that 1/8 of the acre for your entire life. What is going on here in what is meant to be the driver of our economy? And what we found, and Dahlberg helped us on this piece of research, was that lack of access to credit, lack of access to inputs, lack of information on weather, lack of access to markets, etc., all combined to make smallholder farmers always stay smallholder farmers. What do? We put together a group of interesting partners from information providers, from input providers, from procurement specialists, market specialists, and said, guys, we need to do something. We have a technology platform. We know who these farmers are. We can register them. Come together and let's give solutions to drive more productivity in the small-scale agriculture section. So what we have is a product called DigiFarm. We launched DigiFarm about 8 months ago. We have about 800,000 farmers on the platform now. What does a DigiFarm farmer look like? He probably looks like this guy here. He has a mobile phone. He has M-Pesa. We've registered him. We know his land holding, and we know what he farms. This means that when the government then sends its fertilizer subsidy, they send the right type of fertilizer to the right person in the right quantity. Less wastage for government. This means that this farmer gets the right information on what he should do for his particular crop. He's not farming by guesswork now. He's farming with accurate information. It means that via M-Pesa, he receives his government subsidy. He then goes to an increased number of agrovet suppliers. We're now building the agriculture ecosystem. And he buys quality inputs. He buys quality seeds. He buys quality fertilizer. He plants them. Via his mobile phone, he can get crop insurance. He can get seed insurance. We've now de-risked his farming process. And interestingly, we can also pretty much now guarantee access to market, because for every group and cluster of farmers, knowing what they plant, when it's going to be harvested, we can look for buyers who would be interested in buying it. And that's DigiFarm. But what has it done? It's provided a lot of certainty into small-scale farming for farmers. It's taken out the risk. It's provided accountability and transparency for government. A lot less wastage is happening. And ultimately, and more importantly, it's also freed up and actually made the whole agriculture ecosystem a lot more productive. So it's still early days, but what we do know is that farmers do say farming is a lot more pleasant. They're more sure about what they're going to harvest, and they're a lot more sure about the fact that their incomes are going to increase. So again, an interesting ecosystem of partners, but delivering massive impact. So let me close by echoing the rallying call of the SDGs, which is really leaving nobody behind. And I hope that I've demonstrated in my 4 examples that indeed shared value partnerships should really aim at leaving nobody behind. Your collaborators, as well as the way that your benefits are distributed, should really go to a very broad ecosystem of partners. We believe that technology makes a difference. We believe that technology can help address inequalities. We also firmly believe that the SDGs are truly a business opportunity. We've heard a lot about the $12 trillion that can be unlocked. I think there's a specific statistic for Africa, but I can't recall it at the moment. There's opportunities in health, in education, in agriculture. There's opportunities around reducing hunger. What's really important is for all of us to look at these opportunities from a shared value approach and recognize we can really make an impact around them. It's going to call for a different kind of partnership, the kind where maybe it may be frustrating to begin with because you're sitting around a table with people who think different, speak different, look at results differently, and most of the time we are actually the culprit of that all because we look for people to adjust to us and not for us to adjust to other people. But I think the most exciting thing about this all, and I hope I've demonstrated that, is that the value you get from working together is much larger than you get from working alone. Thank you very much.